Play it down some. Slide it forward off the bump.
There's a bump.
Camera has a little bump on it.
I was trying to bring my little.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because it wasn't charged.
I know.
Is that better? That's good. It's all right. Good.
Push the power and the volume down. New stuff. We just realized everyone's at the back.
Oh, it won't stay that way. Yeah, right?
Hopefully not.
Amanda, congratulations. And condolences.
And condolences. Yes. Yeah. I've been grieving all day. I didn't realize you had to check in. I knew it was I really wanted to. I think I'm scared. It wasn't our fault. I know. How are you?
Oh, you've already got it going?
Jeremiah, probably should have
Sorry, I would have texted if I had done it. Thank you. Let me know if there's anything else.
I will. Thank you. I have a couple in the bag.
Oh yeah, my second
Good morning, Michael. Hey, buddy. Good, you want it?
What do you got in there? I was gonna be like,
You're disappointed in the fact that you're excited.
we went just the eyes of visit, but you can tell. You knew.
Dude, your whole body was eye contact, speech, and gesture. Got it.
Right on.
I feel like I have to too.
I'd say one more.
Even more.
Rifles are really small. Small amounts of.
Rifle, checker knife, away from even fist.
The ARs look dangerous.
Look, yeah, I know they look. I think they just need to have. Yeah. Oh man, I can't find it anywhere to be honest. I haven't looked for a bit, but everyone tells me.
I haven't looked either. I just know it's expensive back there.
Kent, were you trying to tell me something? Well, somebody. Hey, can you go? Hi, bro. Awesome. And he gave me the sneak. The first draft. Yeah?
Oh, thank you.
Once in a while I can do some work.
Thank you.
So that you can. There you go.
Interesting back to I don't know. Okay, can you guys hear me? We're going to go ahead and get started.
So first things first, just a couple of quick reminders. If you haven't checked in with Lori, please do. We just want to have everybody's badges scanned or your employee ID numbers. And the last couple of reminders you'll probably hear at every presentation today, which is we need to keep our masks on. And if you do experience any symptoms of COVID, please go ahead and check in with your manager about how to proceed at that point, or with your supervisor. So thank you for being here. There are some handouts going around. If anyone needs one, stick a hand up and I'll lob one to you. We want to welcome Officer Wortman from the Provo PD. He's apparently also a fantastic break dancer, so if he finishes early, we're really hoping for a show. So wonderful having you here. And I'm going to just step out of your way and let you go ahead and talk. He's going to try without a mic, so if you guys are having trouble hearing in the back, just stick a hand up and we'll get a mic going at that point, okay?
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk. Whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
One second, we're having technical difficulties apparently. All right, while he's figuring that out, like she said, my name is Officer Wortman. I'm with Provo City Police Department. I've been with the department about 4 years. Before that, I was in the Marine Corps. This was kind of not thrown at us, but the other officer that was going to do it, he actually got promoted and is no longer at the level of giving presentations, I guess. So during this class, it's going to be on active shooter and workplace violence. A show of hands, who's actually thought of an escape plan, or if something happened while you're at work? Because I know all of us work with 100% sane people that have no issues, no drama, no stress, right? Has anybody thought of a worst case scenario that if they're at work and God forbid, but active shooter situation? You have? Okay. A lot of people tend to not think of that. Just kind of a funny story. When I got married, I'm the type, whenever I sit, I have to look at the doors. I've always been like that. I don't know if the Marine Corps taught me that or what, but when I was dating my wife, she thought I was looking for other people, apparently. Because I could not sit with my back to the door. It's just me. I've always got to have an escape plan. Not saying you need to do that, but it's just always good to know your exits, know if a certain coworker all of a sudden isn't acting the same, or they're going through a lot of stress and they just shut down, or whatever signs they may show. Maybe keep an eye on them, maybe talk with them, see what's going on. So like the video, it's kind of a short acronym: run, hide, fight. It's just that. So you want to have an escape plan, escape route. You want to leave your belongings behind. So if you're at work or if you're at anywhere and an active shooter incident starts, leave your belongings behind for a couple different reasons. Once there's an active shooter and somebody's called 911, whether it be somebody just walking by, hey, I thought I heard gunshots. I would say probably 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to have every single police officer in your city, especially in Provo, along with county coming, highway patrol. Here in Provo, we have I guess you say, luxury of having BYU has their own police. They would be responding. So in approximately 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to have an overwhelming number of police, along with SWAT coming too. So leave your belongings behind, because we go through quite a bit of training, and then I'm also on SWAT. We train for stuff like this a lot. People are running out. You don't want to be worried like, okay, what is that in her hand? What is that in his hand? So that's why they say leave your belongings behind. Once the situation and the investigation is done, you will get your belongings back, I promise. It may not be that day, but you will get them back. So just make it easier for people that are coming to try and help you in a not so good situation. Run regardless of whether others agree or not. Basically, if it's an active shooter, a lot of times an active shooter doesn't have a single target in mind. It's just to cause mass casualty. So if others are saying, no, I don't know him, if we just sit here, just get out yourself. You don't want to be another victim. Help others escape if possible. Obviously, if somebody, a lot of times when you're under a severe stress, some may freeze. So just try and help them snap out. Hey, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. Over here's an accident. I've already planned it. So whatever. Do not attempt to move the wounded. This is going to be hard because it's your coworker, friend, but all they're going to do is, I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but kind of slow you down, and it could add to more casualties. So you want to get out as fast as you can if that's possible. Prevent others from entering, like you see in the video. So if our exit plan is this door and we go out here and then we got somebody that's late, it's like, hey, my class is in here. Don't just be like, good luck. So you want to prevent it. Tell them, hey, we need to go. There's a shooter. There's a guy with a gun, whatever. And then once you're out, call 911. Obviously, people are going to be calling 911 the minute it happens. But if you have detail, once you're in a safe or out of the immediate threat, call 911 and you can tell them, hey, it's a 6-foot male with a red hooded sweatshirt, whatever. All right. Just like in the video, hide. You want to hide. So if there's an active shooter in here and you're able to get out here, but then you see somebody else coming up and you duck into a room, you want to hide from the shooter because, like I said, he or she doesn't have a target in mind usually. They're not saying, okay, I'm going to shoot at everybody that's 5'5" and blue jeans. Usually it's just they want to be mass casualty. So you want to hide, and then if you do duck into a room or something, lock the door. And then in the video you see them pushing the printer and all that. That's not going to stop anybody. However, the more stuff you have piled behind the door, whether it be empty file cabinets, it's going to help delay that shooter. Just like in the video when he tried the door handle and walked to the next one. Usually that's what's going to happen. They're trying to get they know that everybody is coming to stop it, so they're just trying to cause as much chaos as they can in a short amount of time. So put stuff back there. Anything is going to delay him from getting into the room you're in. Do so, even if it's just a bunch of these chairs throw behind the door. Silence your cell phones. I know in a stressful situation like that, it's probably going to be hard to remember. Silence your cell phone, turn off vibration, all that stuff on your phone. But it's imperative because if he hears a phone ringing, usually a cell phone is in somebody's pocket, purse. So that's going to lead him like, okay, there's obviously people in this room. So silence your cell phones. Next one. You can pay attention to this girl. It's me. All right, and then the last part of that is fight. So fight is the last resort. There's going to be another video that has like a more of a, I guess, a fight scene where they've tried everything else and it's resorted to the fight. But with the fight, no matter how big, small, strong, weak you are, anything is going to help, especially if you get several. If it's 3 coworkers in a room and you say, hey, if he comes in, you're hitting with the fire extinguisher, I'm going to trip him, I'm going to do this. Whatever it takes to delay the situation. Obviously, you're going to try to incapacitate the shooter. Obviously, if he's incapacitated, then there's going to be no more victims moving forward. That's the ultimate goal. You want to commit to your actions as if your life depends on it, because it will. Meaning if he comes in and your job is to hit him with the fire extinguisher, when he comes in, you're like, oh, we might be able to talk him down, maybe see what's going on. No, if your job is to hit him with the fire extinguisher, the other coworkers, whatever jobs that y'all came up with, they're dependent on you to hit them with the fire extinguisher, like you're dependent on the other one to trip them. So whatever your job is in the fight, make sure you do it. Make sure you stick to it. So, information you should provide to law enforcement or 911 dispatch when you call. Location of the active shooter. So, what floor are we on here? Third. So, if we're running out and police is arriving, just tell them, hey, he's on the 3rd floor. If that's all you know, hey, he's on the 3rd floor. That way officers know what floor to at least it's narrowed down to. Now, it's not saying he hasn't moved, but at least that way they know, okay, this is where he was when this individual left. Number of shooters is pretty important because when officers come, Provo, we have the mindset of stop the threat. So everybody's going to be running in, whether it's 1 or 20 at a time, but you're running in to try and stop the threat. So they need to know, okay, is there one shooter? One shooter, okay, we're hearing gunshots down here, let's run that way. But if there's 2, then it could be like, okay, Lewis, you take that one, I'm going to go after this guy. Physical description of the shooter. This is pretty important, but it's also don't tell them what you think. Like, I think it was this, or I think he was this tall. Tell them facts, because we don't want to be looking for the wrong guy when all along he's been wearing a black sweatshirt when you said he thought he was wearing a white one. Not saying they don't change their clothes, but so have a physical description, clothing, appearance. Did he have facial hair? Did he have glasses? A hat? Just anything you can remember, let them know, because it's going to help our job. It's going to make it a lot easier locating. Number and type of weapons involved. Did he have a shotgun? Did he have a AR style? Did he have a pistol? Did he have a slingshot? I mean, it's whatever weapons you've seen, let them know. And then number of potential victims. Like the video said, the first officers that respond, we're not going to start CPR, tourniquets on injured person. It's sad, but that's how it is. We've got to stop the threat, and then other officers and paramedics will be coming, and then their job will be to get the wounded out, get medical attention or whatever. But we initially got to stop the threat. That we got to stop the part that's causing all the victims. Remain calm, follow directions. So when you're running out, obviously scared, officers going to be running in. If they're telling you to go to a certain area, go to that certain area. Because that could mean that we have security set up there for when you come out, we have paramedics there, it's a safer area, and we can get more details because you're out of the situation, you're not freaking out like, oh, wait a minute, no, he did have a black sweatshirt. So that way you can relay any facts you have or any corrections. Like I said earlier, put down any bags, backpacks, anything that you may have. Raise hands and spread fingers. Does anybody know why you would do that?
So you don't look like a threat.
So you don't have anything in your hand.
Right. Like I said, once we get there, obviously we're kind of in the mindset like, oh no, they're hurting innocent people, so we're rushing in. We don't need people walking out with hands like this or something where we could think that they had a gun or a knife or whatever. So it's easier if you're like this and walking out. That way they know, okay, that's friendly. That's friendly. Let them out. Keep hands visible at all times. Obviously, if you're wearing something like a hooded sweatshirt, don't run up to an officer with your hands in the front pocket. Avoid quick movements. I ran out of room there when I was putting that in, but it was saying avoid quick movements towards officers, meaning a lot of the active shooter situations that are going on in our history, a lot of times people will try and jump on the officer for safety or try and get him to protect them, which obviously that's what we're there for. However, we're there to stop the threat first. So that's all that means. Or actually the next one, do not hold an officer for safety. Do not stop officers and ask them for help. Obviously, we know that you need help, that's over there. So just listen to any directions that they tell you. If they say run down and go to the parking lot across the street, then go to the parking lot across the street. We're not trying to be rude, but we're just trying to end a bad situation.
I like what you did there.
This was just so you can really think of what I've gone over. All right, so this is just some numbers. The only graphs I could really find was from 2000 to 2018 or older. So I don't know how they do this, but I couldn't find any from I was trying for 2000 to 2021. So since then, there was 277 incidents from 2000 to 2018 in the United States. Of those 277 incidents, there was 2,430 casualties. That's including killed and wounded. The shooters were not included in this number. Most times, I forget the number, it was like 95% of the time, the shooter is usually going to commit suicide or do something to cause to get shot. He's never going to give up. Obviously, in his mind, whatever he's going through in life and in his mind, this is what's right for him to do. Then you break it down even further, 884 were killed in the 277 incidents, and then 1,546 were wounded in those same incidents. So it just kind of gives you a number of the unfortunate numbers of active shooter. Yes?
Did you say that was over 18 years?
It's from 2000 to 2018, so yes, 18 years. And then this is just going to break it down per year. So it's going to show, like in 2000, there was only one. So that was actually a pretty good year, apparently. 2017, there was 30, which is a lot. So you can kind of see there's really no trend. I mean, it's gradually gotten a little bit worse over the years. As you've seen in the news, just last week we had one. Not in pro, but you can go to the next one. And then this is kind of important. This is going to show, obviously there's no trend. There's no method to the madness. But this is just going to show, as you see, like 15.2% of those incidents were at education. That's covering kindergarten through 12th grade schools. 6.9% is at government. And then if you keep going down, like residence and then house of worship, healthcare facilities was 4.3%. And then commerce was at 43.7%. That's open to pedestrian and traffic. Yeah, so it's kind of scary that schools was pretty much number 2 on the list. Go next one.
Can we watch this?
This is that should be good.
This one? I'll watch this one?
Yeah, sure.
Gotta make sure.
Hi, can I get you started with drinks?
Oh, sorry, I gotta take this.
We'll need a minute.
Hey, you need to back up. You can't be here. You can't have my face. What, you think I'm afraid of you?
Want to make you part of the team and improve your chances of survival. Don't go up here.
Police, where is he?
By the bar, blue jeans, black shirt. Empty hands up, follow their instructions. I'm in a direct line of fire if I head for either exit, but I have other options to help me survive. Guys, come on, in here. Go. Lock and barricade the door.
Both my exits are blocked by the shooter. I gotta stay hidden. I'm no victim. I'm ready for this.
He's applying direct pressure to the wound to stop the bleeding until we can find a tourniquet. In the meantime, turn off your phones and make a plan to defend yourself.
We have to fight to survive. You control the weapon, you control the shooter. I'll go for the gun, he'll go for his arms, the bartender will go for the head.
Where is he?
We got him right here!
Please, show me your hand!
Over here!
You can survive a mass shooting if you're prepared. Remember, run, hide, or fight. Run. Wherever you go, be aware of alternate exits. Quickly and cautiously evacuate in a direction away from the attacker. Don't hesitate. Seconds matter. Remember windows and emergency exits. Leave belongings behind. Keep your empty hands raised and clearly visible when exiting a building. Follow all instructions from the police. Don't stop until you're sure you've reached a safe location. Hide. If there is no safe escape route, find a good hiding place. Lock and barricade the door. Silence cell phones. Prepare a defense plan. Fight. Fight only as a last resort. Use available objects as improvised weapons. Use teamwork and surprise. A coordinated ambush can incapacitate an attacker. You're fighting for your life. Don't fight fair. Stop the bleed. A victim can die of uncontrolled blood loss in 5 minutes or less. Apply pressure or a tourniquet to control severe bleeding. Go to fbi.gov/survive to learn more.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions on active shooters before we go into the next part? Where do we, majority of us work at? Hospitals, private? Home? Right. Okay. Is this something that where you work at, they've gone over that if something like this happens, we need to do this, or is there, I don't want to say a policy, but is this something that's at least been brought up in your workplace? To where the fastest exit out of your office or your cubicle, somewhere where you can hide if somebody comes into yours and you're not able to get out because it's only got one entrance and exit. So it's something just to think about. I don't recommend going to work and pretending like, hey, I'm an active shooter, let's see what everybody does. But I definitely recommend talking with your coworkers, just because they may think it's goofy, but just to kind of get their brains thinking also. That way if something does happen. And I know that a lot of the people we work with, because we work with a lot of the same people, you're like, oh, this is Michael, he's always arguing, he's always doing this. But that day may be different for Michael or whoever. So I don't want to say you got to get comfortable to build that bond, but don't get too comfortable where you get lackadaisical. Because it could be that day Michael's like, you know what, I've had enough. I don't want to end it myself, but I want somebody else to end it for me, so I'm just going to cause actions to get them to end it for me. So just something to think about. Next, we'll go into workplace violence. So, workplace violence. That's any act or threat, physical violence, any type of harassment, intimidation, any other threatening, disruptive behavior that happens at work. Before we go, does the office you work for or the company you work for, do they have something in place for workplace violence? Either SOP, policy for that if somebody that you're a co-worker, a client or something, if there was a workplace violence incident, how to report it or how to handle it? Yes? Yeah. Not sure. Okay. All right. With workplace violence ranges from threats, verbal abuse, physical assaults, or even homicide, which would go back into like active shooter situation. It can involve employees, clients, customers, and visitors to your facility. If it's a facility that you may issue out meds, where you have just random people coming in, or people just coming off the street like, hey, I want to know what you do here. So it could involve anything with that also. Next. Accident, violence, and other injuries is currently the third leading cause of fatal occupational injuries in the United States. Anybody have a clue that might be even on the list? I did, I'll be honest. You wouldn't think of something like that would be third on leading causes of. All right, I don't think this pertains to anybody. Higher risk workplace environments, exchanging money with the public, obviously that I wouldn't think would pertain. Working with volatile, unstable people, that doesn't pertain to me. Working alone or in isolated areas, definitely doesn't apply to you. Providing services and care, and hopefully this doesn't apply to you, working where alcohol is served. But yeah, basically it's saying, if you're in the healthcare world, especially working with people that may have mental issues, they're a lot less stable, I guess. So, next. Higher risk employees who handle money, delivery drivers, healthcare providers, public service workers, customer service agents, law enforcement, and those who work alone or in small groups. I know at our level we deal with a lot with MCOT, which is an awesome group. But I don't think I've ever, it might be in y'all's policy, but I don't think I've ever seen one person come out of one.
No.
It's usually, I think, at least two. Sometimes I've seen three. So that's a good, I know it's a good resource for us, but it's a good practice to have. Just because a lot of the individuals that we deal with that MCOT deals with a lot, they're either off their meds, they've gone to street medicine or something else where they're not exactly in the right frame of mind. So the individual that you spoke with last month, who might have been completely mellow and telling you how his day is and what he's been doing, might be completely different now because he's met the pharmacist on the corner. So definitely more than one person. How can workplace hazards be reduced? One of the things is to have a zero tolerance policy. Policies should include employees, patients, clients, visitors, contractors, anyone who may come in contact with the company personnel. Policy can be a separate workplace violence prevention program. So it could be, if you get a new hire in, just if your company has a policy, just include that in their new hire packet. Incorporate into a safety and health program, an employee handbook, a manual, or standard operating procedures, which is also referred to as SOP. So if you have that, you could give it to new hire employees and say, hey, here's our company policy against workplace violence. It is critical to ensure that all workers know the policies and procedures. that could be as simple as when you hand out a new hire packet, they just sign it, yeah, I understand the policy, and that way you have it on the file also. All claims of workplace violence will be reported, investigated, and reprimanded promptly. With this, obviously, if somebody's reporting that, in my case, say Bryce, he's been threatening me every day saying I leave too early or whatever. I need to report that so it's investigated before it escalates. I don't want to say be a snitch, but kind of just pass it on. Hey, Lewis, he's been acting a little agitated lately. And then our boss can talk to him and say, hey, quit picking on Wortman. But that way, it's also in there that it was investigated. That way, if something else happened later down the road, you can say, hey, I already reported this and it was investigated. And then it'll have in there what was found or whatever. So is there any comments, questions on workplace violence or active shooter? Yes.
For active shooter, is there an opinion that law enforcement would have about folks that are carrying themselves, does it complicate your life? And in what way does it, and what are your preferences for people to stand their ground and defend themselves, for example?
Right.
A lot of different kinds of situations along that.
So you don't have to answer this, but did you, I'm guessing that you carry, or that you have a concealed permit. Either did you go through concealed classes or did you go with the new law that passed that anybody can conceal?
No, the classes.
Okay, so a lot of times, I still recommend, people always ask about the concealed carry stuff. I still recommend going to the classes, just because it gives you more knowledge than, just simple things like traffic stops. I feel so much better, and I'm sure he does. If I do a traffic stop, I walk up to the car and the guy's got his hands on steering wheel. Just so you know, I have a pistol. It's near my wallet. I don't know what you want me to do next. It's always going a lot smoother than if I've ended up arresting somebody and I'm searching and find a pistol. That's kind of scary. It almost is. So if you're ever involved in an active shooter situation, if your life is at risk or your family's life is at risk, then obviously now, once the cops get there, kind of back off because they're not going to know if you're the shooter or somebody trying to end the situation also.
Yeah, just beware if you choose to respond that way, that you have a chance of being shot by the police as well. And that happens with off-duty cops that have been involved in active gunmen or robberies or anything where they've been shot. It's just the police don't have time and they don't get adequate. We're going to have, if it happened right now and you guys were the only ones in the building, we're going to have probably 70 911 calls, and everyone's going to have a different suspect description. So we just have to treat anybody with a weapon as the target. And so if we go in and if they say drop the gun, drop the gun. Don't try to explain who you are or anything. Just follow their orders as best you can. And my advice is there's not a right answer to the question you ask. That's something that you have to decide. Is this worth my life? If I get shot, is it worth the chance? Is it better to get a group of people and barricade myself in a room and then I have the weapon if he breaks into the room, that kind of thing. But there's that risk to that. And the other side of the risk too is if you go in there and you start shooting, you're just like us. Now you're legally liable for every round you fire, and if you hit somebody that's not the suspect, you could be charged down the road criminally for that as well. So there's a lot of liability on that side of it too. So it's just one of those where it's your decision whether you want to respond to that way or not.
The other thing, just I guess piggybacking off that, if you do concealed carry, I know ammo right now is so hard to get, but definitely if you're going to carry, know that you're actually with that pistol. Because like my wife, she's a part of some growing gun club and they shoot twice a month. So I'm pretty confident she could hit, but I've told her 100 times, the minute you pull that out, the active shooter knows that he came in alone. So now there's another guy with a gun. So you're going to get the attention drawn on you. So make sure that you're not just shooting and running or whatever. Make sure that, because if you miss the first shot, then most likely he's gonna get you, because now his attention is on you. So just something to think about. Like he was saying, it's also good, if you hide in a room, know that, hey, if he comes in here, I have this. So I can use it, because now if he gets in here, we're all gonna be shot, most likely. So you can also use it, just like he was saying, as a defensive thing too. So it's more or less, you've got to think in your mind, are you willing to possibly take a life and possibly miss to where he's going to take yours too? So, great question though. Did I answer it? I hope.
Perfect, thanks, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of to piggyback on that, so hypothetically, if you decide to hide, you haven't been so carried, are police identifying themselves if they're breaking through some kind of barricade where you know this isn't the shooter coming in, this is the police coming in?
Yes. When even when we train with stuff like this, usually my voice is gone the next day. Believe it or not, on SWAT, we actually train for this stuff alone, because it's something that's so unexpected and we don't have time. Like hostage situations or other SWAT call-out stuff, I don't want to say we have time, but okay, it's a barricaded guy by himself. We have plenty of time. There's no reason to run in, and he'll eventually get hungry, thirsty, cold, hot, whatever. So we have time to actually plan it. But when it comes to an active shooter, the plan is to stop the shooter. So when we train, even with the police department, we train on this. We're police, open up police, so that way that people do know, okay, the police are here and they're trying to help us out. But also to let you know that if you've hidden in a room, okay, it's police. So
Don't be fooled by that though.
yeah.
Because that can be, I mean, it's okay to ask for, if we're coming to room clearing at that point, then correct me if I'm wrong, we're moving a lot slower, and I think it's all right for you guys to say, if you have any ID, you can slide under the door or something to prove, if you can't see out, that it's the police.
So the initial police and SWAT, when we get there, the number one priority is to eliminate the threat. Once that's eliminated, then we'll do what they call secondary searches. So now we're going to start clearing it room by room, make sure that he hasn't put any, make sure there's not another shooter that's just waiting to see what happens with this guy, and then he's going to pop up. So yeah, once the initial threat is taken out, then that's when we'll start backtracking, and obviously there are already officers, paramedics working on the wounded. Those will be priority, getting them out to the hospital if need be, or whatever is wrong. So does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? So we're just going to sit here and look at each other for 10 more minutes.
I just have a comment.
Okay.
My comment is I have worked with the mentally ill and substance abuse people. I have worked as a bartender, and I have retired from the post office. I'll tell you, the least safe place out of all three of them is the post office.
Yeah.
Just saying, I actually was there when we had an on-site, he ended up committing suicide.
Yeah, like I said, most of them, that's what they end up doing. Either they don't have the, I guess, nerve to do it to themselves. So a lot of times they'll just try and do as much as they can to get somebody else. They call it suicide by cop. It's a real thing. I've encountered it a couple times. I'm sure Lewis, he has. So
I'm just curious, I don't know which way to go. Our workplaces say no weapons in the building. And sometimes I think I totally agree with it, but sometimes I totally don't agree with it. What is your opinion on that?
I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to go back. Officer Wilson said we're glad. It definitely, I mean, obviously I would go with your policy. Like, I know Lewis is, he's part of the bomb squad and has a bomb dog and stuff. And we get quite a few of those around town, and I know that he encounters a lot of businesses that don't have a policy set up for if there is a mysterious package. So with that, have they said what the reasoning is? Other than liability reasons, they won't.
No, I can't say that another.
It's within the state law as defined by Wasatch. We can't have firearms in, the law states that if it's in a secured area, not normally accessed by the public, we're not allowed to have firearms. That's an internal discussion for us to have. And it's not something that law enforcement can get into because it's a state law.
How about, is there anything in there against like tasers or pepper spray?
We've been told by upper management not to have stuff like that. If the sign at the front of the door is no weapons. So pepper spray, anything like that, we've had arguments about that because if we can't bring in firearms, then what's our next option?
You have baseball practice afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, I know for us to carry pepper spray and taser, we have to get both. And I think I'd rather be shot than hit with one. So it's, yeah, because that would do the job, but I understand because it's probably the same guidelines as if it was getting in the wrong hands or somebody argues with them, like, not today, we just pepper spray.
Well, that's exactly where some of this came from, is as our administration has talked and looked at the facts and history, kind of some of the things you've shown. Most of the workplace violence comes from coworkers rather than somebody coming in, and so that's where a lot of the basis of the no weapons has come from.
Right. And I understand that, I guess that's policy you gotta stick to as long as you wanna keep getting a paycheck. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you have any idea or opinion on why things like that happen more like post offices, things like that? Like,
I
it's
can
just
tell
so
you, but
crazy.
that would be a long.
We have 8 minutes, so. I'm not sure why it's directed.
Some places manage by intimidation, and even though they have zero tolerance there, they know if they allow their employees to bring a gun, they're coming after them. And also, I will say, we had some employees that carried a gun anyway, and those were the ones I was the most afraid of. Because if you're gonna violate the law and actually go to the point of possibly losing your job to bring one, you've already got issues. And so it's kind of a catch-22 in places like that. So you just retired, that's what I did.
Any other questions?
Actually, what are the legal ramifications of killing in a place that has a strict demographic? I'm not talking about Florida.
It's a trespassing charge, because they're requesting you don't carry it, so they're gonna call us and we're gonna probably cite for trespassing.
My second question then is where, I'm not going
So you want to call her out on this?
No, I was looking at him.
Oh. That's pretty much saying there.
Where, at least I feel like I'm repeatedly been told from upper management that like, we don't have anything to worry about because essentially if people aren't on this. What's the reality of that?
I would say if they're on their medicine and being seen, that's probably correct. Obviously, I'm just going off personal experience, but it seems like it's the ones that they've been seen by you, but they have no way to afford their medicine. So then they find the guy at the corner that says, hey, I got this, I'll sell you for $10, or whatever. It does seem to escalate it. I know MCOT sees it all the time, so we call them out. But I know that when they're on drugs, it almost enhances whatever issue they may have. I mean, everything from how you're going to say, because you all see it too. So, yeah, it is. I don't have a percentage, but it does happen quite a bit, but it's the ones that aren't being properly medicated. Any other questions? Yes.
I was gonna say, I think it's just safe to assume that anybody can be people, and like with the drive, I know at crisis receiving, a lot of people that come in are either on big by meth, coming off of meth, or itching to get out and go through more, so those are they should come down, more just because of personal experience, but I just don't wish it to assume. You know, about options in mind, I just don't know. I'll just keep an eye out right now.
Yeah, it's sad.
The big part of it is if you're dealing with someone that you're worried, you can always call the police.
Right.
You know, we're a big city for Utah County. We have plenty of guys on, and no one minds coming up and making sure that that's the right placement. So feel free to call us if you guys are feeling threatened, or if you just have that weird feeling that this you know, something's up. You can always call the police.
Better safe than sorry. Yes.
So I had an incident where I had a client sitting across the desk from me and I needed to call the police. What's a quick and efficient way to explain the situation and how?
Right.
So dispatch will ask if you're okay to talk. And you can say no, and then they'll start, you know, well, try to break it down to yes and no. So they're trained to handle that type of call. So if you got someone in front of you, you can say, yeah, you know, I can't, no. And they'll be like, well, do you need the police?
And you can actually text 911 now, believe it or not. I don't know if anybody knew that. Yeah, you can actually text 911, and there's a dispatcher waiting to get the text. So a lot of times that's come in, you know, we've had hostage situations or something, and they'll text dispatch that way. They don't hear a voice, either they're in the bathroom or whatever, and they're able to text, but they don't want to hear the voice. So, yeah, so that's an option too. You can just send a text, hey, I'm so and so. I have a client here that's really making me nervous, and this is our policy. Can you send an officer? Does that answer your question? Hopefully it helps.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Well,
Before we leave, Brian wants to do his breakdance.
I have no idea where that came up. All right, well, enjoy the rest of your day. What's next? Thank you.
We were gonna